And we're going to end today talking about the duty recorder.
And do you guys remember me bringing this up back when?
Yeah.
You sure that wasn't Ascalia?
That was definitely me. Because all of you guys called me fucking crazy. Or some facsimile thereof.
No. Here's how it went down, because I remember exactly how it went down. We were talking about stone, sky, and sea. Remember the dummies that you test your DPS up against? Yeah. And before we had gotten the feature, we had said, oh, maybe it's going to be like a fight DVR. And all of us said, nah, that's not going to happen. It was in reference to that one specific event. We didn't say it would never happen ever categorically, but we did say that's not what Stone, Sky, and Sea is.
Yeah, if you want us to say otherwise, you'll have to specifically find the episode.
There's absolutely no way I'm going to do that.
Okay, cool.
Exactly. So,
so we can just take
all of the wind out of your sails about saying that you were right now.
We should just do that all the time.
I would tell the chat to do that for me, but I know they won't.
Oh, no.
So now, okay, we are getting a fight DVR, which is basically
technically a dungeon DVR. Isn't just the whole dungeon you can use this on?
I don't know that. I don't know. I have no idea.
It says from instance duty, so
the entire instance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jeez.
Sure.
So it could be a dungeon, it could be a raid, it could be.
But here's the thing:
a trial.
Because Square Enix, in typical Square Enix fashion, doesn't want anyone to get harassed about their performance. Everyone in the party has got to consent.
Yup. A record ready check must be initiated, and all players must consent.
Because God forbid someone have their shitty performance recorded and then used against them to keep them out of groups.
Like, that is like the last thing I would even think of. The only thing I think of when I hear about this is like watching my character do super awesome backflips and casting awesome spells. But Square Enix immediately goes to, what if someone records me being a bad?
And of course,
well, isn't already stream on Twitch without other players' consent? So what's the difference?
Well, yeah, because they can do to stop that. You don't need other players' consent to stream on Twitch. That's never been an intrinsic part of Twitch or MMOs.
The duty recorder lets you actually view the recording through the other player's perspective.
From other players' perspectives. Yeah.
True. So it is recording quite a bit more than something like FF logs. Right? And you're getting much more of a, intimate view of how that player is playing.
This seems really useful for raiders.
It does.
To go back and see where you fucked up.
It absolutely does. It absolutely does. And among your raid group, you're never probably going to run into a situation where someone is going to be a bitch about consenting to the record feature.
Exactly.
But you're going to run into it in pugs all the time.
But why would you want to record a pug just for the screenshots?
Or if you're like Samus and being a pug hero and that's the way that you're trying to clear content and you want to use it for yourself to try to get better.
That's fair.
Right?
A few things, reading through this. First of all, the duty record feature will not be applied to all duties when first implemented.
Oh my God.
And you may change your perspective to any battle object, which includes pets.
Yes.
Glad they included that. Let me make sure my pet's doing his job.
Wait, any battle objects? So like that one in like fucking where you can pick up the barrels and move them. Can you like switch to the barrels?
I guess so.
No, it is much more like anything that's sending out moves, anything that's sending out damage. I think you can probably switch to that perspective. So if there are ads, you can get into the ads perspective. You can get into the main boss's perspective. So, but the thing is that we don't know if you can see it right down to what they're hitting on their UI. I don't think that the system would be complicated enough to record every single button press.
Keep in mind, this isn't an actual recording because they say, please note that you will not be able to view past recordings after patch updates. This is because the feature is replaying the battle itself using the battle system and not recording a video. Therefore, when there are job adjustments and such, it will not be able to play with those previous statuses as they were.
Right, exactly. And that No. That makes sense. Basically, what it is it's recording the state of battle and replaying all of the moves that each one of the characters makes in battle. If you take FF logs as an example, FF logs logged every single action action that a player did from the start of battle to the end of battle. This is doing the exact same thing and then playing it out in real time using the actual battle system. Now, once there is an update to the battle system where they've adjusted the way that damage calculation works, the way that maybe a timer is set, it will disrupt if you try to replay that fight through that battle system. It's not going to log every fucking battle change ever and go back to, oh, this happened at 4.2. Let's rewind from 4.5 rules back to 4.2 rules to be able to show you the battle as it took place.
In the actual game engine.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the way that you're able to switch perspectives. Because if it was just recording video, fucking OBS does that.
Yeah, you would just be watching your perspective again.
Exactly.
And I don't think they'd be able to use like rotates and blah, 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 blah. And
does
stuff
it
like
keep
that.
track of like where you are, like placement on the map and stuff?
Yeah.
It
has to, right?
It tracks everyone's position.
It sounds like the same thing that they're using in like Overwatch right now for replays.
Yes. And that's virtually the same fucking thing.
And it's in FF14?
Yeah.
It's so weird. For me now going forward, a little off the FF subject, but any esports that doesn't put this in their game now, like you have no excuse.
Yeah,
FF14 just did it.
Well, I mean, I think it's a pretty and in a in an environment where you have to have cooperation and a little bit of competition between players, I think that this is absolutely appropriate. I do think that it's bullshit to make everyone in the fucking party consent to it. Yeah. That's horseshit.
In fact,
I mean, are you sure that's not like the same thing though as like, oh, when you're on the radio, you have to let them know they're on the radio in order to continue the call?
No.
That's a law. That's a law.
Right, but why does that law exist? It exists for a lot of reasons, and I feel like if you're going to record someone's gameplay and then watch something back from their perspective, they have to know you're doing.
No, you want to know why that exists? It's because so many fucking people got on a Jerky Boys album and didn't realize it in the late 80s, early 90s, and then they got pissed and ended up suing the people who printed it on a CD.
Question for you.
That's why, dude, that's why Crank Yankers as a show went away. That's why you don't have any more Jerky Boys. That's why you don't have any more prank calls on the radio.
Candid Camera.
It has way more to do with the laws surrounding recording phone calls and what constitutes a legal recording of phone calls. By the way, that's only applied to individuals, not the government recording our phone calls. That's why that became a thing.
Couldn't they make it so that if someone doesn't consent, you just don't get access to their perspective?
Nope. I think that's way more programming than the.
And also, you'd be able to see them over, and
Yeah,
you can see them when you play anyhow, or like you said, if you record it on Twitch.
No, but think about what consent is in this situation is meant to solve. The problem that they're looking to solve is that someone not consenting to this feature and being recorded and then subsequently being judged afterwards because of their performance.
It's to take any liability off them to be like, oh, this asshole was recording me and I didn't, This way they say, well, you said it was okay.
But do they have to do that? Like, isn't that a game? Like, game companies can allow people to be fucking people. Right? Like, they're protecting themselves on a level that they don't need to protect themselves.
Yes, they're going way further than they need to.
Yeah.
Like, if someone came to Square and says, oh, they're judging me.
They're harassing me because I didn't do good at your game. That's not Square Enix's fucking problem.
Nope. They've already given you the tools to stop that with the block list.
Yeah. And if harassment through the game client is Square Enix's problem. If someone posts a YouTube video of someone and they're getting fucking harassed because of their performance in a YouTube video on the YouTube video itself, that's not Square Enix's problem. They don't need to figure out development solutions around that problem. Think about this. This was probably at least an entire week's worth of discussion in the FF14 offices to figure out, well, how do we broach the problem of people being harassed potentially through this system. Think of how much development time that wastes.
I don't want to think. Like, actually, that's one of the things that I was going to bring up today is when you look at this, the amount of work that probably went into just the PvP and the battle recorder and the glamour commodes alone, far outweighs, I think, what
Everything
probably
else
went into the MSQ. Basically, what we would consider the core concept of the games.
Yep.
It's bullshit.
Yep. 100%.
I'm not going to disagree with you there.
I mean, all you got to do is just look at the notes to figure out where Squeenix is putting their time.
There was a fucking Kotaku article, and this was the first thing I saw before even anybody else, started talking about the live letter and what the patch notes were. A Kotaku article that said the where the new patch shines isn't in the MSQ or the dungeon. It's in everything else. And when I read it, I vomited all over my computer.
No, you didn't.
Hyperbolically, I sure did.
So, I mean,
So, did you say you had to specifically queue for a duty recording?
No. I think when you queue at the beginning, it'll ask you, do you consent to recording? And if everyone hits yes, if you have it enabled, it'll record it.
It sounded like, from what they outlined on the thing, that it was a different queue that you throw yourself into.
But if that was the case, then they wouldn't have to consent to it. It would already be.
You would be consenting to the queue itself.
Unless you forgot that it was checked.
Yeah. And that would further divide the potential queues.
Personally, if there is a duty recording queue, I'm going to queue up for that only. And then when the consent pops up, I'm going to click no.
You're a dick.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but...
it means I'm a dick.
He's an epic troll because that's what.
But being designed that way doesn't make any sense.
No, that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
is that
yeah.
You're exposing the flaws of the design. That doesn't necessarily make you the dick.
Square Enix needs someone like me to point out the flaws in their plan. I'm doing them a favor.
Hire Juxta. Take him off our hands.
No.
You don't have to pay him that much.
Do we really want Juxta to work for this game? Is that
no, not at all. No, I think that would be really bad.
Push forward the bunny suit male outfit.
That would be his first agenda.
That? When are we getting that?
We're never getting that.
Never.
The fact that I keep bringing it up, saying it's coming, means we are never getting it.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys.
Just one of many Yoshi P lies.
That's going to do it for Limit Break Radio for today. Thanks, guys, for joining us and for calling in. Again, if you want...
Ryoku.
Yes, Ryoku, Carletta, and